Yeah, so this will be interesting. It's our first attempt at a pitch night. Lots of friends and family here. And so we are going to get some projects that are mostly just beginning. We have 6 presenters, assuming they all arrive. So Brad, you're new.
I am new, at least here.
Yeah, so do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Brad Anderson, co-founder of Fresh Coast Blockchain. We started in January. We actually started in the hackathon in Morales a couple months before that. And I've been working all year. I quit my job at an insurance company and decided to put something together. So we're finally getting to the point where we're getting ready to release something to a seed round and see what we can build.
And Liz, we've never officially met.
No, we have not. I'm glad to be here.
I've heard a lot about you, though.
Oh, good. Likewise. Yeah, so I'm Liz Young, and I am working with Barack as he's sort of advising us on this project we're working on called Directional, just getting started, so in the MVP stages. So we're excited to see where we can take it.
So Barack, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, Barack Sazan, and I'm an investor and entrepreneur, advisor, and I do a bunch of different things. But especially last year and a half to 2 years, it has been almost exclusively in the crypto space. And Liz and I, we worked together in a previous company, a startup. So yeah, we know each other really well, and I'm trying to help her and a few, another person to get Directional going.
Awesome. Let's see. We have a few new people here. Jason, you're new to the group. Do you want to jump in and introduce yourself?
My name is Jason. I'm new to this group. I find this meeting on, I think, meetup.com. I have a project on Web3. I'm using an NFT to fight counterfeiting products. But today, I will just come here and listen to other people's speech.
Awesome. Thanks for jumping on board.
Oh, no problem.
Matt, do you want to say hello to everybody?
Yeah, I'm Matt Rain. I am a molecular geneticist. I am working on a startup as well, and I'm one of the people who's presenting this evening, so I might have a chance here to kind of explain what I'm up to and how it relates to Web3 stuff.
This was kind of an interesting format. Everybody has startup projects. The format tonight, so today we're just going to do 5 minutes to present, 5 minutes for questions. I've got a little bell. It sounds like this, in case somebody runs over. So that's the format. And then we'll have a little bit of time afterwards. And that's it. These are the presentations. We're going to start with Filecoin. You're on deck. Why don't you go ahead and take over and screen share? David's a new member. I've talked to him. He has some really interesting things going on, and I think you're going to be very excited to hear what he is up to.
Well, my name's David Turner, and I'm here with my son, Nathan Turner, and we're part of a family office that's up in Sonoma County. We have a couple different businesses that we run. We have Turner Blockchain Capital, which is largely an investment and trading business. And then we also have Turner Blockchain, which is involved in Web3 infrastructure. And we're also a Filecoin data storage provider on the enterprise level. We're new to the group, and we definitely thank everybody for giving us this opportunity to, talk about a project that we've been working on lately. And you can certainly find maybe its presence out there on Meetup, and I think we have a Twitter handle as well. The group that we're presenting here today is the Filecoin Data Storage Union. The reason why I think this is important, and hopefully not just another DeFi project, and nobody really wants that. This is something that's important because in our view from our time with Filecoin and the storage providers, we've noticed that there's kind of a problem, a gap in what we do. So let's talk a little bit about this problem. So the problem that really exists out there is that there really is 1 to 2 institutions that provide Filecoin storage providers with access to Phil, which is the native token that we use to stake in order for us to do storage deals so that we can later get block rewards. So what has to happen is the storage providers have to put up a certain amount in Phil. And then over time, they actually capture up to 10 times what they deposit in terms of block rewards, typically over a period of between 6 and 18 months. But the problem that we're experiencing is we're starting to see kind of a gap up here between larger storage providers and smaller storage providers. And the smaller storage providers are having a difficult time getting access to leasing fills so that they can complete deals and they can go ahead and publish the data to IPFS. And so what's happening is that you're getting a lot of larger storage providers that are starting to kind of take advantage of larger lease of fill, where the smaller storage providers are unable to fulfill some of the smaller roles in Web3 to get that data stored. And so what we'd like to do is start kind of a quasi Aave type of platform that in which smaller storage providers can actually get access to fill, even on a smaller scale basis, maybe 100 fill, maybe 200 fill, 500 fill, whatever that number is, to complete a storage deal so that they can move forward with their business. And then we can build Web3. All of this, from my point of view, is very important for the overall process and system, and also to ensure that the smaller storage providers have access to the fill that they need to do the deals. And what we see is perhaps, one, creating a DeFi lending platform for these smaller to medium-sized storage providers. We allow those storage providers to get access to the fill so they can deposit perhaps stable coins or other cryptocurrency, and then lend fill to themselves, no different than you would in a DeFi scheme with Aave or any other platform like that. And this would also give members of the crypto community the ability to come into Web3 infrastructure and actually stake Filecoin or other crypto assets they have, so that they can then lend it out to these Filecoin storage providers. And it's actually a fairly good deal, and it's something that can, I think, garner a pretty significant percentage. And how we would do that is that Filecoin now has the Filecoin virtual machine, and it's EVM compatible as of this month. So there's an awful lot of building going on the FEM. I think it led the group in commits in the last month of all the blockchains. So there's an awful lot of building that's happening there. And for us, probably the more important thing for this is the why of why we're doing it. How we got involved in Filecoin is a unique story, because we became involved through another organization that was using Filecoin called the USC Shoah Foundation. And they are a foundation that collects all of the Holocaust survivor materials, whether it be video footage, whether it be interviews of Holocaust survivors. The Shoah Foundation wanted to take all of that information and put it onto the decentralized web through Filecoin and IPFS to ensure that no adverse governmental regimes or no adverse body can come in and change that footage, and thereby changing, I think, history that we have as humanity. I see that as being one of the biggest attractions of Filecoin that we have, is it really gives us the opportunity together to build Web3, and also to ensure that it's decentralized and that there is no centralized authority that can come in and change that. And how we do that is to make sure we just keep building. And that's the purpose of this type of platform. Just in the next steps that we have, we've already developed a little bit of a social presence. There's already a tremendous amount of interest with the smaller storage providers. And really our next steps is just trying to work together to develop a platform for this. And that would require dev support and things like that. And I think I'm on my 5-minute mark, I believe. So I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for the pleasure.
You hit it perfectly.
No, thank you.
Okay, questions. We got 5 minutes for questions. Does everybody understand what he's up to?
I'll take a crack at it.
Okay.
From what I'm hearing, this is more of a mezzanine type bridge for people that are unable to meet the minimum allocation barrier set by Filecoin, which opens you up to a more volume, but the smaller per transaction basis. Is that the right path?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the requirement, and it's not necessarily Filecoin. I really wish it was, because Filecoin's great and their community is great. It's really just the two lenders that right now are involved in the Filecoin institutional system. And one of them does require the 5 million, and the other one is a little bit hesitant to lend out if you're smaller than 5 million. And the interest rates they charge are a lot. If you're going to lease fill for 18 months through them, they're going to charge you about 22% interest per month. Did I answer the question? I hope I did.
Yeah, so just,
Yes.
so when I talked to you about this, I got the idea that it's kind of a DeFi platform for FIL, for the native coin, for Filecoin, that storage providers, for one, cannot access right now because the requirements are too large and the interest rates to borrow. So theoretically, if you're providing storage, you could stake your coins, borrow against them, and do all kinds of DeFi things with them. Is that correct? And of course, if you also believe in Filecoin and want to buy their native token, you can do the same thing. Is that sort of the gist of it?
Yes, I mean, we anticipate the platform to run on a smart contract similar to Aave, and that it would allow storage providers and others to deposit crypto and then lend out fill. I mean, it'd be great right now as us as a storage provider to take perhaps some Bitcoin or some Ethereum and then go ahead and stake it just to get fill so we can maybe complete a deal tomorrow. That's the type of I think, business practice that these storage providers would take a look at here. They would want to, deposit these coins, lend the fill, stake it, and then of course over time you get that back, and then they can go ahead and repay the loan. All the while, I think the way that it's actually run can be a bit of a subject of discussion. It can be an Aave type of platform, but then you can also have a separate section where perhaps you do strictly lending, and that's just through a different part of the platform. But what I truly favor though is again that type of platform where they can stake and then get fill so that they can meet short-term requirements.
In your opinion, why do the storage providers have this cutoff, and why don't they just partition out a smaller amount for this benefit?
Yeah, so sometimes the storage providers don't have the capital or the operating capital, or what they'll do is they'll be involved in several deals and stake their fill, and then what they'll need is additional fill to conduct business operations. In essence, every time we verify a deal, every time that we do anything on the chain, no different than Ethereum, we have to use the native token.
Thank you. That was, I'm really interested in this. I didn't know anything about Filecoin and staking, and I'm really interested in learning whether or not DeFi is dead in the next week. And next up, we have Shirley. Are you here, Shirley? I think so.
I am.
Yeah. So why don't you introduce yourself? I think we didn't get to you in the intro, and your project that you're working on.
Sure. My name is Shirley Lopez, and I am a VP at Metadata. We started this late last year. I'll go into it right now in my presentation. You'll hear all about it. But besides Metadata, I have two other companies. They are in legal services. They're not have anything to do with Web3, but hopefully I can bring them onto Web3 at some point in the future. My first business is called LNL Process. We are nationwide process servers. And my second business is Notary Force. We are virtual notaries, and both of them, all my clients are attorneys. So that's a little bit about myself. And I'm in Miami, Florida.
Great, thank you.
No problem. I'll go ahead and present. Hi, my name is Shirley Lopez, and I am a co-founder at Metadata. We are building the Web3 POS for businesses across the globe. Earlier this year, Coachella sold 10 lifetime pass NFTs. In total, those 10 were sold for more than $1.5 million, which is amazing on its face, but let's take a deeper look as to why it was so incredible. Coachella created the automatic customer out of those 10 lifetime members who are incredibly loyal, passionate, enthusiastic about Coachella and their brand. But Coachella wants all of their attendees coming back every single year, not just their lifetime members. Imagine if Coachella decided to sell their 750,000 general admission tickets as NFTs. What if they offered more than one type of membership? How would they even keep track of everything? Right now, there is no way to scan NFTs, there's no way to verify ownership, and there's no way to track and report the usage. So how can Coachella take advantage of Web3 and still provide an amazing user experience for their customers? The answer is very simple. The Metadata Mobile App enables businesses to scan, verify, and redeem members' NFTs. So for example, I have a customer that's showing me their NFT on their phone. I scan it. Perfect. Up pops their information. And now I hit redeem and I have successfully recorded the transaction. Now I let that person into the event. We've just made what was once a long and cumbersome process, now an easy and quick tool for businesses to use. And Metadime also helps create, manage entities very easily. Businesses can view their memberships, they can manage their members and reports all on the dashboard. Up to 10,000 memberships can be created at a time. Our team of business and Web3 consultants provide an end-to-end white glove service experience for businesses that don't know how or don't want to have to handle their designing, their minting of their NFTs, creating marketing strategies, and so forth. So some of the ideas that we have been talking about with businesses are the Beer for Life example, VIP sports events, exclusive wine clubs, and even fundraising for a local community church. Metadime enables businesses to create community using memberships, loyalty programs, and exclusive perks and events. NFTs are moving towards real life experiences. Just like Coachella and the Denver Beer Co., Metadime supports all kinds of businesses like the NBA, all the way to your local coffee shops down the street. Selling NFTs without Metadime is like opening a store without a credit card reader. Metadime is a B2B SaaS company. We have 4 subscription plans under a pay per member pricing model. Higher tiers enable features and support more members. Our freemium option enables businesses to start scanning and redeeming memberships risk-free. But ultimately, we want to become the #1 Web3 POS for businesses across the globe. This month is our soft launch of our mobile and tablet apps for beta customers. Next year, we're launching integrations into major POS systems like Clover, Toast, Upserve, and in 4 years, we're aiming to have our own standalone Metadime Web3 POS system. I am Shirley Lopez, VP of Metadime, and owner of 2 legal services companies. Daniel Lowe is our CEO, who has experience building multiple web, mobile, and TV applications. Together, we have over 20 years of experience in tech and marketing management. Our ask today is introductions to POS experts, as we are looking to onboard this professional onto our team very, very soon. Feel free to connect with us. You can scan our QR code or take a pic of the slide. I am Shirley Lopez, and thank you for listening to my presentation today.
Awesome. Thank you, Shirley. That was great. I'm just going to open this up for questions.
Sure.
That's pretty straightforward, right?
This is
Yes.
Brock. Yeah, this is Brock. So who is paying for the service? Are they the sponsor like Coachella or an event organizer? Is this like the sponsor and the payer for this service?
The business is the one paying for the subscription to Metadime. So to use the application, Coachella would be the business because they're the ones that have the NFT collection. If it were Starbucks having the NFT collection, they would be the ones that would be subscribing to Metadime.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And their consumers, their members, their event attendants, they will install the app on their phones and then
No, the business is the one that has the Metadime app. It's similar to like a POS system that when you go to the store, they're scanning and you're paying through their POS system. It's very similar to that.
I see. I got it.
Shirley, what blockchain are you using?
We are chain agnostic, so we can be on any chain. What we're doing is basically reading the blockchain, extracting that information, and then once the redemption happens, that information is going to be sent back to the blockchain for recording.
Can you speak to some of your POS integrations? You mentioned Clover and Stripe.
Correct. Yes. So actually, very soon, in about 2 months, we will have the first integration with Toast. The integration is going to work in a way where the redemption is going to be documented into the POS system so that when the vendor sees their reporting, like, oh, how many times was this item was bought by this person, and then their NFT redemption was documented here. So it's going to be integrated where the inventory will be taken into account.
Would this system be integrated or integratable with systems like Shopify?
Eventually, we probably could. I can probably see that happening. But what really we're focused on right now is in real life experiences. So Shopify, I believe, is strictly online. I may be wrong, but I want to say strictly online. We will most likely, it's not a priority right now because our priority is in real life, but we'll probably also have a virtual redemption factor where the wallet is like very similar to how many businesses are doing it now, where the wallet is integrated with the website. Or
Awesome.
connected is the word, when you connect your wallet with the website. Yeah.
Are you going to be providing also feedback analytics for the companies to do marketing, and so when they want to
Absolutely.
do a drop on their...
Yes, absolutely. So reporting is part of the vendor portal, where they're going to be able to see how many times a certain perk was redeemed, if all of their NFTs are being used, is this program working? Are they profitable? Just many types of data that the business needs to make really good decisions going forward. You know, whether that NFT collection is really making them money, people coming back or not, is the perk working? The whole point of this is really, as an NFT collection, you want your customers continually coming back. So it's a loyalty program.
So you're building a customer experience. Yes, I see good use cases for this, and very organized. I have a question with regarding partnerships, though. Would you be interested in speaking with other people that are doing large events, specific augmented reality functions with concerts such as Coachella?
Absolutely, we'd love to. And we are going to have a partnership program for business consultants, marketing agencies, and Web3 development agencies. Very similar to how HubSpot has their partner affiliate program. We're going to have that same type of program, but in Metadata.
Okay.
But
I'll speak with you offline about some of that.
Sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to. You can take down my email.
Shirley, can I riff on that one? That question got me thinking that if I understand the kind of workflow or the use case scenario that you've sketched out here, somebody is accepting tickets more or less at the door of an event.
Yes.
And participants are lined up and waiting to get in.
Yeah.
And in this scenario, everybody who's got their ticket more or less in a crypto wallet is, if I understand, is pretty well set up to basically get scanned by your technology. The ledger in the sky understands that their ticket's been redeemed. They go in, they have a great night. For people standing in the line who don't have crypto wallets and might have acquired their tickets through some other means, do you guys imagine that your customers would just have two systems running in parallel, or do you imagine a way to accommodate that somehow, like kind of for non-NFT tickets?
That is a very good question. I would probably say for right now, it's going to be two systems running parallel to each other. I would probably say we would have to integrate with whatever current system they're using, right? We would have to somehow make it one.
Maybe just a barcode scanner thing that, I don't know, runs on a separate or parallel ledger, quote
I would
unquote.
imagine, like I took for example, the Florida Marlins as an example. If the Florida Marlins wanted to provide an exclusive, and they have an entrance, I don't know if you've ever been to or any of these large stadiums, they have a very special interest for VIP people. And so what I would imagine is that if they wanted to offer this exclusive event type of access, they would have a special entrance for those people. They would scan, that's where Metadata would scan, and then they would have a regular entrance for all the regular people, non-VIP people. But this NFT collections right now are being used more for exclusivity purposes and for just, if you don't have the NFT, you can't come in. And so there's kind of like you're forced to buy it, right? If you really want this special access. We do also have the capability for businesses that want to do in-person minting, and that person can go up, scan the QR code, mint their NFT. 5 minutes later, it appears in their wallet, right? Because it takes a couple of minutes, appears in their wallet, and Metadata in real time will absorb that information so that when that person shows up, right, that and wants to use their NFT right that minute, Metadata will already have their information in the perk in the system.
I am a terrible bell ringer. We're going to move on, but come back Wednesday, or actually, hopefully we'll have some time at the end of the presentation to talk more about this. Obviously, lots of interest and lots of ideas about how this is going to work with NFTs. And Matt, you're up. Vax Gratitude has 1x. I apologize. Do you want to go forth and explain your project?
Yes, I would love to. Let me just have a moment to share. Well, thank you, Elisa, for this invitation. I have got a story that I think is really cool to tell here. It's a little complicated. I'm Matt Rain. I'm a molecular geneticist who's kind of stumbled into Web3 by accident and found a pile of technologies here in the cryptoverse, so to speak, that hold enormous promise for unsticking some very old bottlenecks in cancer research, which is something that I'm very interested in. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about kind of an old holy grail research problem and a really novel Web3 solution set that I am going to represent here has the potential to really accelerate the race for cures around the globe. I should start just by saying that medicine has made enormous strides to treat cancer and other life-altering conditions. And, we see it everywhere. People are living longer, healthier lives. And as you can see in this particular graph, people are even living longer after a cancer diagnosis. This is pretty encouraging stuff. The data are complicated if you think hard about it, but for now, maybe you'll give me poetic license for that point. And as new therapies are showing really, truly stunning new levels of promise. In this particular recent study, every single cancer patient who was enrolled in this small clinical trial went into remission. This is like the stuff of scientific miracles. Not very long ago, this was unimaginable. And so we know that humanity is knocking at the door of revolutionary new science. But we all know that we have a long way to go. And the progress, as fast as it's moving, it's not fast enough. In this slide, I just show quickly that in 2020, the last year for which I could grab data quickly, cancer was still the second leading cause of death in the US, killing well over 500,000 people in just that 1 year. And here's where I'm going to connect some dots. So in the 2010s, I had a job that had me traveling around the world and working with many bio researchers in many different countries, Asia, Europe, North America. Everywhere I went, I'd ask if I could wave a magic wand and grant you, research friends, 3 wishes for tools that would make your research faster and more productive. What would you wish for? So top 3 wishes. Well, everyone seemed to have a different number 3 wish, but everyone that I spoke to, country after country, had more or less the same number 2 wish, and everyone had the same top priority number 1 wish, which I gradually came to recognize these were wishes for ways to get out of a thorny kind of devil's bargain of modern biochemistry. So I should set this up by explaining that biomedical research is really striving to understand health more and more holistically. And new, kind of more holistic research techniques offer these remarkable, kind of tantalizing glimpses of more and more complex health dynamics. But there's a weird paradox that you can either use old-fashioned tools that allow you to study just a handful of biochemicals at a time and know their identities, know which molecules you're studying, or you can study tens of thousands of biochemicals at a time and see the vast complexities of a person's biochemistry holistically. But in this mode, you do not get to know the identities of the many thousands of compounds you're studying. It's almost like a Schrodinger's cat, if you've ever heard that physics metaphor. And it's maddening. It's frustrating. This problem is not a secret. Scientific articles whinge and whine about it nonstop. I just called out this one little quote, but I could pull up hundreds of these. Compound identification is a huge challenge. The sheer magnitude of currently available databases makes this whole thing broken. But it turns out that a clever combination of distributed kind of Web3 style computing and some artificial intelligence can allow researchers around the world to combine and integrate their work, treat everybody's data like puzzle pieces, and assemble the puzzle in a way that can break this devil's bargain and solve the problem for everyone. It's really one of the most exquisite collective action problems that I've ever seen. And honestly, the stakes here are enormous. So when I wrapped my head around the power of the solution that I just mentioned, I quit my job. And I set out to build that technology to help researchers around the world move faster. That blockchain kind of DeSci platform that we're building to help science is called MS Orchestra. And here I will sort of explain the combination of panels. Since we're doing this in the Web3 universe, and we're also repressed artists, as I like to joke, we thought it would be fun and fitting to fund the MS Orchestra project with an NFT art sale. So we've made a bunch of art out of stunningly beautiful 3D molecular structures that are poignant at the moment. This is one of them right now. We've got 10,000 of them, and they're all differently colored and proportioned and stuff. But this is a 3D model of the spike protein. And then we're building a whitelist for that project now. And I'd invite you to check it out at vaxgratitude.com. We've just launched this thing that I call our Genesis project with my tongue in my cheek. And basically, it's a way that we've put these molecules printed in exquisitely high resolution on T-shirts. I can say more about that in a moment. So I don't know, we'd be honored if this is all a fundraiser to advance this MS Orchestra project to accelerate cancer research around the world in the way that I mentioned. The art is really cool. And I'll take your questions just with a quick note that I would love to invite you to come check us out on the web. In a moment, I'll paste my contact information into the chat here in case anyone has interest in these kinds of topics and would like to learn more. I'm not sure I understand what's happening Wednesday, but I might be there as well to continue the conversation.
Perfect.
But that's the gist.
Okay, we're on to questions. So jump in, questions, go for it.
Would you be interested in working with other companies that are pursuing the same thing?
The short answer is yes. The long answer is that what I'm doing here is in some ways way down in the weeds. I've had to describe it at a high level to squeeze into 5 minutes, but things that are truly complementary, I am absolutely eager to collaborate and coordinate and do what we can. This is about getting work done for the purpose of, like I say, accelerating research on planet Earth. So heck yes. Can I ask you if there's, I don't know, is it worth poking there and asking if you have a card to show your hand on that, or should I bite
Yeah,
my tongue on it?
sure. I worked for a company pursuing something similar last year. Would love to, get you guys together. This is really good work.
So as I was listening, I hope I didn't look rude there. I was pasting my email address into the chat, and I also threw some social media stuff in there. But absolutely, I would love to learn and consider that.
Okay, great. I'm really interested in finding out more next week about the actual research. I know you've talked to a couple of people here about how that actually works. I've never gotten the presentation. I don't know. Are you ready to share that next week? Is that still close to the vest?
I could do that if that's the goal. Yep. Maybe we can follow up
We're really
offline
trying
and
to
I
do
can.
feedback, but yeah, we can do it offline too. I mean, everyone is sort of is doing that. I love the art. It's wonderful. Anybody else have any questions? We've got 1 minute left for another question on this one.
This is Burak. Matt, so you are using these NFTs as a fundraising mechanism, right?
Yeah.
But that the ownership of NFTs is not getting like an ownership in the company, right? It's just It's just, like, can you explain a bit more on that? So when let's say I go buy the NFT, and then what does that? I mean, that's just essentially, it's a fundraising for you, but it's not like allocating equity or any ownership of or any governance of the company itself, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So, so again, in the space of 5 minutes, I've had to cut lots of detail out here. The technology, the platform itself, the one that we call MS Orchestra, I'll go here. This thing fundamentally is a DAO. And the way that all works is that there are people who have data, really absolutely critical data, that everybody could use if it could be brought together in just exactly the right way and organized and operationalized. So in that sense, there's a whole kind of DAO. Barack, you're the first person actually who put me onto the term data DAO. It really fundamentally is a data DAO. But the NFT projects really just started out as an art sale, kind of, for anybody who has interest in supporting the project. Again, I didn't get into it here, but the molecule that we chose to make the subject of our art is the spike protein from SARS-CoV-2. We just thought it was kind of a poignant bit of art and a neat way to connect dots between science, art, and some of this Web3 stuff. And again, I don't want to go too far over Elisa's point, but yeah, it's just a simple, straight up art sale as a fundraiser to make the project happen.
Okay, great. We'll circle back at the end. Brad Anderson has a great project called Versify. It's a DAO creation platform built on Avalanche, and his electricity is out for the next 4 hours. So we're going to move right along to Liz Young, who's going to present Directional.
Perfect. Go ahead and share.
And Liz, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So like Barack said, we worked together at a previous company, and that was a healthcare analytics startup. So my background is primarily in healthcare on the data side. So sort of the full breadth of anything data related when it comes to healthcare, from provider dashboards, business intelligence, visualizations, to the foundational level of building out data systems, claim systems for large health systems and payers. So started my career as an analyst and then moved more onto the product side of things, and have been doing data related things ever since. And in the past, probably 2 or so years, similar to Barack, I've been pretty much exclusively focused on crypto. So yeah, that's a little about me. And our whole team has not similar backgrounds and expertise, but similar backgrounds in sort of starting in healthcare and being very, very data focused. So all of us, even though, my main other partner, she's a developer, but, we all come from the healthcare side of things and have worked almost exclusively on data related products. So that brings us to Directional, which gets its name actually from the term directionally correct, which we sort of have a thesis that most macro level analyses, and really all analyses, only need to be directionally correct. Or only ever are directionally correct, maybe I should say. Obviously, crypto and blockchain has unlocked this entirely new category of public data that's theoretically totally accessible to anybody. But right now that data is still incredibly hard to get access to index, and then to make any use out of. And the companies, most of Web3 companies now, are indexing the data themselves and really utilizing that data really through just traditional Web2 tools. And then the individuals are left very, very manually try to make sense of this data. And you can see this in these two sort of illustrations I have here. On the left, you see query volume by vertical from the graph. And the graph, for those familiar or not familiar, they're sort of the leader in the Web3 space for indexing blockchain data. And almost all of their usage is from DeFi applications. So developers accessing their data to build out DeFi applications. And then on the analytics side, these 4 companies are really the leaders in analytic tools. And they range in terms of, having black box proprietary models to being more open source on the data, and methodology side, but almost all of them, really all four of them, make most of their money selling to institutional investors. And they're all extremely finance and DeFi and trading focused. What the opportunity is that leaves a massive gap of just the individuals and companies asking and answering questions and utilizing or trying to utilize this Web3 data every day. And what we mean by that is this is companies making strategic decisions with this data, or trying to, putting the data in reports and pitch decks and sales decks, in white papers, individuals tweeting this data, creating YouTube videos, tutorials, all sorts of online content, and then really individuals and companies, using this data to make financial decisions, of course. And we believe that the value in data intelligence is in the right answers, questions, and most importantly, the interpretation and actions, not the plumbing. And what I mean by plumbing is not the indexing, the tagging, the organizing the data, which of course is important, but we don't believe that every single person should be doing that every time they're trying to access data, especially in a supposedly decentralized open source world. And we're talking about public data to start, at least. And in order for any public data to reach its full potential, which very few has, it needs to have shared, it needs to be a shared commodity with community-driven definitions, taxonomies, and data standards. And it needs to be able to be quickly accessed and visualized so that ultimately people can interpret and act on that data. And we're talking about higher level, business level analytics here, not real time, super complex AI models, but we believe that almost all macro business intelligence analytics comes down to this basic formulas of entities plus units and metrics plus techniques. So you sort of have this world of data types, then analytic types, meaning are you aggregating the data, are you comparing it, are you doing a cluster analysis, benchmarking, etc. Then ultimately you're visualizing it and finally interpreting and acting on this. And we are creating a decentralized ecosystem that not only incentivizes and potentially pays users across to contributing to all of these stages, but also capturing that intelligence along the way so that it's not just a bunch of one-off analyses, but people are also, the system's learning as it goes. And what this looks like is most likely something like this. So it starts, of course, with the index data, and that we do plan on using, as many open source tools as we can and integrating with as many protocols as possible. So right here we have the graph and flip side, two data providers as our starting point. And then we have the data assets and taxonomies. So this is really making sense of that data. So it's easily aggregatable and accessible and usable. And eventually we want to launch our own token and create an entire DAO around this, but that this incentivizes and pays contributors to indexing the data and to doing that plumbing work. And then we have the analytics builder, and what the analytics builder is essentially just a no-code analytics tool to very quickly access, visualize, and interpret the data and create reports and benchmarks and insights from that data. So right now, depending on the tool, you usually have to write a bunch of complex SQL to get, any sort of insights from the data. The visualizations are difficult and or non-existent. And you also have to be an expert on all of the data sources and data tables. And there are thousands and thousands of them, which is not reasonable for the average person. We want to include a bounty request where users can ask questions or suggest analyses types, and then analysts can answer those questions and get paid for them. And then ultimately, whether or not it starts with a bounty or just an analyst's own business question, they can ultimately publish these reports or these insights to socials, via reports, via white papers, and actually, give people access to those reports with NFTs or in sales. And so what does our revenue model and roadmap look like? Right now, we are currently building out that MVP. So we're doing that with a very small team. And our goal with building out that MVP is getting community feedback and buy-in, and then ultimately to build out our bounty system and make this a truly decentralized ecosystem. So eventually, making this a DAO and introducing the direct token, which obviously there's a lot to figure out between here and here, but that sort of, takes me to our ask and what we're doing right now, which, like I said, is finalizing the MVP build. But next, we're then looking to raise between $50,000 and $200,000 or thereabouts through community grants and/or small investments to finalize that MVP, and then building out our team to take us to the next level.
Okay, thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Welcome to the group. So yeah, let's jump in. Questions about this project?
Hey, I have a quick question, Liz. Are you focusing strictly on healthcare publicly available data, or any publicly available data sets?
No, not healthcare data at all to start. Sorry that was confusing. Strictly on-chain Web3 data to start.
So Liz, I think I'm wrapping my head around what you're describing, and I'm just trying to imagine, like, where does your layer of this whole thing exist? Like, what platform are you running on? Do you have centralized servers that kind of do this work? Is your service distributed somewhere in the cloud or on a chain or multiple chains?
So no, eventually, no, we do not want to be hosting this on centralized servers. And we also don't want to be every part of this. So for example, we don't see ourselves really ever being the main or maybe any data indexer. So for that part, we would want to use decentralized services like the Graph that supply that index data. And then what will be is a web-based tool. And what we're starting with is this analytics builder. So we will host a web-based tool that allows us to pull in that data and then easily serve it up to our users.
I don't know if we're running out of time and I can add another question. Is that okay, Lisa?
Yeah, keep going, keep going. Yeah, sure.
I guess I'm wondering who's your target customer? You kind of touched on that at the beginning with all those potential use cases, but who are they in your mind, and how do they know that they need you? Like, how do they discover that they need to knock on your door?
So our initial customer is, I guess, what I would call the average retail crypto user, or a crypto individuals at crypto companies who are not trying to build out entire data systems and data analytic tools for themselves. So I work with a company now, and we do stuff on the health or the Web3 infrastructure side and have staking platforms. And we are constantly trying to find just random information, even volume on different staking pools. Even that question actually was not easily answered. And so the people how do they know they need us, is that they're trying to answer questions that they can't. And we've collected actually a series of tweets of people who are either asking for that data that they don't have access to, and or very, very manually putting together these reports or insights and then sharing them, via Twitter and what else.
This looks fun.
Other questions? I think let's move on. I got a bunch of them, but I'm gonna wait until the end. I think we have one more. Liz, that was great. I hope you're coming back next week, and we'll have I think we'll have some time. We'll have about at least 10 minutes to talk a little bit more after this next presentation. And then Wednesday we'll go back and we'll talk about this. So really, part of this, I know we're all evaluating these as business ideas, but I think the people that are presenting them are also trying to ask us to poke holes in the presentation itself. So I was going to launch the polls during this. I'm not going to do that because it's just distracts you from what you're paying attention to. But I will send everybody the polls on each one. They're just sort of instant feedback. It's just yes, no, maybe. So then next week we can go back and look at them. And I'm going to launch this deck and share it, and then turn the screen over to Sham.
So a little bit about me. My name is Sham Mundra. I grew up in Toronto and worked for the federal government, both in Toronto and out in Vancouver doing RFPs. So I'd go into a community, do what's called a needs assessment, and work on RFPs, work with community leaders and politicians, and put together programs that were needed in various communities, from employability models to SEA programs, self-employment assistance programs, and the like. I used to manage about 8 to 10 of these projects yearly, and all of them had expiration periods that I wanted them to exit out of so that it could be self-sufficient. I moved out. I currently live in Tampa. I moved out of the Toronto market space about 20 years ago, and we currently personally manage office buildings that we own. And we used to, Liz, you're into healthcare. We used to manage and operate a PBM, pharmacy benefit management company, a ton of data. So I've also started a number of franchises and owned 6 or 7 of the 200 flats some years ago before I exited out of those as well. So I'm sure some of you've eaten at those. For the last couple of years, I've worked on the commercial side of real estate. But as I and I'm new to this whole market space, and so bear with me as I go through a slide presentation on what I'd like to see accomplished. And I'm sure some that are far more knowledgeable than I will chime in to assist. So what I'm looking at is a project that I'm working on, and I'm not nearly as far along as some of you are, but it's called Sunrise, and I'm going to walk you through it. So Sunrise, and I'll sort of describe the problem and then go into what's otherwise willing people still don't donate to nonprofits because of a lack of trust or engagement. Top 2 reasons, they say 12%, but that makes up a lot of money. 2 reasons people give for not donating to a charity. 12% don't trust your organization to spend their money wisely. 2% don't believe that organization make a positive difference. So, and then you come across this whole issue of no easy way to donate cryptocurrency and receive tax benefits. And I think this was a year or 2 ago when there was a lot of gains being made in the market space. People were looking to donate to various causes, allowing for better tax deductions. So the solution that I was looking at was Sunrise is one of the world's first decentralized token platform, but with social feedback to empower donors to assist individuals and social causes around the world. And this horrible war that's taking place in Ukraine would have been a typical example of what we could have used Sunrise for. Using blockchain technology, a marketplace for each Sunrise could be used as a marketplace for each party to meet, assess, and collaborate. A streamlined donation process. Donors have direct access to recipients. Checks and balance for efficient, effective delivery of services. I'm going to give you a little example of sort of the unemployment and how that sort of affects recipients that receive funding and those that don't. And you can clearly see the duration in weeks and months sometimes of how long a person who receives recipient is quickly off of the system as opposed to someone that does not receive assistance. Most traditional not-for-profits are not set up to accept crypto based on donations directly due to tax implications. They just don't understand the implications when receiving crypto donations. Sunrise applied and received is a legally registered 501c3 nonprofit facilitating donor desires to give. Donors on a Sunrise platform can select from multiple organizations, and it could be Habitat for Humanities to the Blood Bank or any other organization that they deem fit. And it'll be a venting process of getting these organizations on there. The Web2 centralized for-profit aggregation model is already in use by many freelance and funding platforms. So it's not too different from a GoFundMe or Upwork or some of the other organizations that are currently out there in the market space, but more so to work within the Web3 and crypto market space. Sunrise will work in the not-for-profit space for the betterment of humanity. At this stage, as I was talking to a number of people, for me personally in my life, it's not about the dollars and cents, but to do something for meaningful, not to certainly make sure that this is a negative balance on the checkbook, but also to make sure that this is done properly. Sunrise will build a Web3 marketplace that matches donors with recipients and enhance the process and results. Prospective donors who acquire the Sunrise NFT can use the platform to transfer funds to individuals and not-for-profits, track donations on the blockchain, obtain sense of connection to the recipients. And one of the critical elements, everyone that has donated money to an organization will sometimes feel gratitude or reward or inner sort of a satisfaction in doing so, but that sort of wears off if there isn't a direct connection from the donor recipient over a longer term to understand the success of what's been done. This also adds clarity to the donation process and follow-up. Secure peace of mind that the donation went to the intended cause. Organizations are already facilitating the social token efforts. The Giving Block, and this is sort of describing some of the competitors or others that are in the market space, a Seed Club, others that are currently working in the space, but not necessarily the way that I'm looking at wanting to work this. And it certainly can get into some details about how they differentiate between what I'm doing. Two main factors will fund the project. We're contemplating on doing some sort of an ICO or minting and a staking process that will self-sustain the project moving forward. Conclusion, Sunrise creates a self-sufficient ecosystem for donors and recipients by creating a mixture of decentralized finance with a social empowerment system. Sunrise empowers donors and recipients to effectively manage charitable giving process. So that's in a nutshell what I was looking at and trying to work on.
Perfect.
Questions?
5 minutes to the T. Questions, guys and girls?
I sort of rushed through that, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer everybody's questions, but I wanted to put it out there and sort of look at poking holes in it and see what I could do better with it.
I had a question.
Sure.
I like the proposal. My question is, do you have a method or process for baseline vetting of charities that get on your marketplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the vending process is one that there's a number of organizations out there that are not-for-profit in the market space to do nothing but vent organizations. You know, there's a credibility ranking, efficiency ranking, you know, a percentage of dollars donated and how much is used for administrative and how much is used for actual end users and causes. So we can certainly scrub a lot of that data and vent these organizations before you put them on the platform. Does that answer your question, Mark?
Yeah, I think it does. Because I was curious on that, and you just don't allow anybody to just get on your marketplace.
No, I think that there's needs to be some sort of gatekeeper to vent organizations to provide legitimacy, to make sure that, you know, things don't go awry. It happens on, you know, the what was that other? There's a number of websites. The GoFundMe is an example. You often hear horror stories of people doing things on there that are not legit, and we would certainly want to make sure that we do a good job of venting. You know, nothing is foolproof.
All right, good. Thank you.
Would the donations given be to the nonprofit be trackable back to the platform? Like the spending by the nonprofit?
Yeah, I mean, yes, another good question. We would want to put financials and information about the nonprofit on the site so that people can, before donate, acknowledge and see what they're currently doing. One. Two, a lot of not-for-profits aren't, you know, when you're looking at a platform like this, I wanted to also provide some sort of interaction, as I described in my pitch deck, is to look at some sort of a video. You know, that's something that's lacking. You never see it on not-for-profit sort of websites talking about what we're doing. I'm talking not necessarily about the actual not-for-profit, but a third party that you could use as a funnel to process funds and move forward. And certainly by donating to an organization, we can look at donations, small amounts or large amounts. I mean, it's difficult to track a $5 or $10 donation, but a little more easier to track a you know, $10,000 or $20,000 donations. So I'm looking at creating one individual donations or a pool where one can say, hey, you know, I want to donate to education. And you have a selection of 5 or 10 organizations that have invented. That way it's easier to track because you've got a volume of dollars that you're providing to this organization that quantifies, hey, we're donating $10,000. We need to know where it's going. Does that help?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
Other questions on this project?
I have a question, Sham. This is Burak. Are you going to accept, are there the donations, are they going to be only in certain denominations like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoin, or is it going to open to more tokens? And
I think that the answer initially would be limiting and then open up broader, because we've got to be careful in how you sort of launch and move things forward. And opening it up to everything, I think, would, one, complicate the process for us and the recipient as well.
Okay.
Slow and easy.
So I'm going to we're going to open up. We've got about 10 minutes left. One of the things that I wanted to gather, we didn't get a chance to do with the poll, is to get you guys to just give just an instant reaction, which is a, yes, no, or maybe to, is this a real problem? Does it solve it? Does it need the blockchain? Does it have a sustainable revenue model? And are you persuaded enough that if I gave you $10,000 and said you need to invest it in one of, in some project, would you consider investing it? So I'm going to send that poll out, but those are sort of, and it's like, I know that, in 5 minutes is a very difficult time frame, even with questions, to try to present what you're trying to do, especially in a new technology with a whole set of competitors and tokenomics and everything else. So I'm going to send that out to you guys. And then on Wednesday, after Labor Day, we're going to do the DeFi thing this Wednesday, but after Labor Day, we're going to have feedback, and we're going to start with the results of the instant poll and start working on the pitches. And I'm going to have a presentation from Matt Davis from Ally Now, who he did not create this white paper, but it's a great white paper, and we'll do it at the end. I think that's the right place to do it, but I'll send it to you guys in advance so you can kind of see the elements that go into a white paper. Obviously, a white paper is much longer than a 10-slide pitch deck, but it has the same thing. I didn't even put in here the team, but I really liked, Liz, that you had your team, you had pictures, you had their backgrounds. That's really important, I think, today for people who want to invest. Other feedback or questions? Now we have some minutes left to talk about any of these projects. Brian, did you have any reactions so far? That would be Davidson.
Lots of great ideas. Each of them, as I think about each one, then the next idea pops up. So I'm going to have to look at I took some notes, and I'm going to have to look at it. But there was some very interesting ideas. All of them were really
good. Well, I will send, I think I'll send it out probably on a Google Sheet so you can add your notes in there if you want. But I like getting the instant reaction, but I didn't want to distract. Anybody else on the call that wants to jump in and ask a question or introduce themselves and talk about any of these? There's some new people here that we haven't met before. Came in a little bit late.
G'day, I'm Jim from Nova
Jump
Nodes.
in, Tyler. I thought you were gonna jump in. I could just see.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I've got a little pitch. If you guys want to stay a little bit longer, I've got a quick 5-minute pitch about a Web3 Wi-Fi solution. Basically, I'm a founder of a new Web3 Wi-Fi system. We're looking to basically arbitrage Wi-Fi networks and make free-to-use Wi-Fi more accessible, more reliable, more secure, and more rewarding. Basically, there's so much potential for Wi-Fi out there, and yet we put padlocks on everything. So with blockchain, we're developing new firmware for wireless routers. But yeah, I do have a pitch deck who's keen.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay, let's go. Let's do it then.
All right, cool. Okay, so basically we're tackling two massive problems in this world. So the first big problem is 1/3 of the world is still not connected to the internet. And yet access to the internet is now considered a human right. And it's not just the developing countries that have the issue. In fact, in New York, up to 20% of New Yorkers lack reliable access to the internet. And 46% of New Yorkers who live below the poverty line, they don't have internet access at home. And that fuels a perpetual poverty trap where you don't have access to education. You don't have access to respond to a job application. So we're aiming to eliminate internet poverty while simultaneously tackling the second problem, which is free to use Wi-Fi. It sucks. It just can't be trusted. The security vulnerabilities are absolutely huge. And when you do find a free Wi-Fi hotspot, it's often unreliable, intermittent, slow, it drops off, and you've got no idea where the next free to use Wi-Fi hotspot actually is. So the solution would be simple. Just create the world's largest ubiquitous decentralized open Wi-Fi network. How do we get there? We get there by rewarding people with crypto to share their internet connection. People get rewarded for sharing a free to use internet connection, but the people who are sharing they always get full speed on all of their devices. So their internet connection never slows down, and they're only sharing their leftover available bandwidth. So we're developing custom firmware for wireless routers by mixing the advantages of open Wi-Fi with the advantages of closed Wi-Fi to create a brand new Web3 solution to bring a third option to what's a 20-year-old binary system. We're leveraging existing hardware that's already available on the market. The hardware can be pre-purchased, configured, ready to go, or you can install the custom firmware. So firmware is software that's running on the router. You can install that on the router if you already have an existing router that is compatible. In order to earn rewards, all you need to do is buy some tokens, lock them up on the router, and you're away laughing. If we tried to do it a couple of years ago, it just wouldn't have been possible. The blockchains weren't scalable enough. The gas fees were too high. The transaction speeds were too slow. Now the hardware is powerful enough to run our custom firmware. And there's new security protocols which allow wireless encryption with no passwords. Market opportunity is huge. Wireless routers, it's a $10 billion a year industry. We project that our firmware is going to be compatible for 25 to 33% of new routers being made. Currently, no one is playing in this space. No one is rewarding people for sharing their internet connection. We're brand agnostic. Basically, we build our firmware to work at a chipset level. So we plan to have partnership agreements with multiple hardware vendors. We've got a great app. The app has over a dozen awesome features, but by far my favorite feature is a map that works both online and offline to show you where the next free to use Wi-Fi hotspot is. And our business model is very simple.
Stop for 1 minute.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
Sure.
I have a lot of questions.
Right.
We'll wait till next week, but anyone else has questions about this project, jump in. Barack, I'm sure I'm sure that you're the Wi-Fi hotspot expert. So,
Jim, I'm a heliumer, so I've been doing like 5G and LoRaWAN and all that. I believe Helium is also working on a Wi-Fi 6 project. So I don't know whether you have seen it or not, but definitely check it out. I mean, these networks can coexist, right?
Yeah, Helium's working on a 5G. So, however, the Helium token itself is the whole tokenomics around it is they want people to pay to use their networks.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's right. You have to use their tokens to be able to, access their network, and that's how they are essentially creating an economy around the tokens. But yeah, you go check it out. I believe they passed the HIP for Wi-Fi 6. So essentially, they are trying to build a separate token just for Wi-Fi. Definitely go check it out. I don't know where all that stands, but after 5G, they are going to go and tackle that too.
Yeah, and like they've got scalability issues where they've got proprietary hardware which just isn't scalable. Yeah.
Correct. What blockchain are you using?
So we're looking to use an EOS IO blockchain. That way we get half a second block times.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Very cool.
we had some really great pitches. I hope you all will come back a week from Wednesday. People that are interested in DeFi. I'm really interested in the Is DeFi Dead? That will be this Wednesday. And the feedback session is next Wednesday. Tomorrow morning, I'll send out all the polls. And for people that just want to keep chatting, I'm going to leave this open for another 15 minutes. But for those of you who want to leave and go have dinner, thank you so much. Great job and lots to think about. And I hope I will do a good job of summarizing them with the polls so that you'll be able to give some instant reactions tomorrow morning. So if you want to leave, feel free. If you want to stay on and keep talking, I'll leave this open for another 15 minutes.
I'm going to head out, but if anybody wants to chat more, I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay, great. Yeah, I have a lot of questions as well, but I think I'm gonna hold up because I think the discussion will be really interesting. A week from Wednesday, we'll take each project and we're gonna go through those 5 questions. Did you think the concept was there is a real problem to solve? Does it solve it? Does it need the blockchain? Does it have a revenue model? And would you invest? If, or did you feel confident about it? It has nothing to do with really, some of that is just whether you personally as a presenter were believable, but we can, and we'll hopefully we'll get some feedback from the polls. So unless anybody else has any last words, anyone want to?
Wanted to say hi. I don't know if I.
Ethan,
Everyone.
welcome.
Yeah, I was just looking for like some interesting meetup events related to cryptocurrency, so I just wanted to drop in. It was really interesting, the presentations. I feel like there's so many ways that blockchain can be used that it always, when I hear pitches like this, I'm always like blown away. So a lot of it I think went over my head, but that's fine. I want to say that I'm an Ethan, I'm an author. I wrote a book about cryptocurrency. So I don't have like a project I'm working on, but hopefully in the long run, maybe I can build the idea for my book. It's 99 cents on Amazon, but it's about social currency. So I wanted to create like a stock market or for people's coins where we can invest in each other and use that as a way to crowdfund our lives. So that's like the high level pitch for my book, but I just wanted to meet all of you guys and say hi. So
Okay. I'll definitely reach out. I'm a journalist by trade, so that's awesome. Anybody else want to introduce themselves while we're here? We're all here.
I guess I'd like to quickly introduce myself. I getting into this space again after a couple of years of hiatus, just sort of allowing, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency to go through its, which may be very well the implosion part of the S-curve, but I've got lots of experience with mobile security, IoT security, down to the chip level by design, privacy as well, of course. And my main focus right now is on the day job is application security. But this Web3 stuff, I just started resuming my curiosity there, and I'm just totally amazed all the possibilities and things. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
we need to talk.
Definitely, Jim. Definitely. Hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm very interactive on LinkedIn. We can take things from there as well. Definitely.
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in or?
Just wanted to introduce myself. So I'm a mobile developer by trade, and I got interested 1 year back into crypto and blockchain space, looking into quite a few projects which interest me and trying to build up a background so that looking at exciting development opportunities, primarily blockchain development kind of things. So all the projects which I listened today interested quite a bit. Yeah, just wanted to get started with the group. So yeah, nice group.
Okay, great. Well, welcome, and we hope we see you again.
Oh, thanks.
All right. So I think that's all right. Jason, Chad, Von Trias.
Yeah, hey, it's Von Terrius.
Terrius, okay.
Yes, I guess I'll give a quick introduction. Name's Von Terrius. I got into blockchain in about 2019. I spent the latter half of 2020 actually doing a lot of research into it, and 2021 actually doing some work in the Solana space early on when NFTs were becoming really popular and the first few collections were launching. Actually worked with the COO of Metaplex and on a couple of NFT projects they had in mind to build out, and actually working on their go-to-market strategy for those. I've kind of deviated from it, but I'm getting back into the NFT and Web3 space as a whole, understanding the decentralized finance space, Web3, and how we can use NFTs for real-life situations. I've spent the former half of this year taking my time working with a couple of startup companies, mainly not in the Web3 space, but looking to integrate pieces of what they have into the Web3 space, mainly using NFTs as forms of raising capital. And I'm also a neuroscience researcher and writer, and amongst other things.
Wow. So you and Matt probably have a lot to talk about. I don't know if you were here for his presentation. I guess I'm just going to throw this out before I leave. Does anybody mind if we share emails, or is anybody? Yeah, that's a yes. Anybody is a no. If you're a no, give me a thumbs down or blurt it out, and I won't do it. But otherwise, okay, that's great. Okay, last words and we will shut it down. Okay, great. Well, listen, thanks everybody for coming. I really enjoyed the presentations. I know everybody's brain is buzzing, and yeah, thank everybody for coming, and hope to see you shortly. Thank you, and good night, and I will see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.